Daniel, a.k.a. Battlestar Galactica, a.k.a. the Purveyor of Petty, a.k.a. the Intergalactic Instigator. I'm going to go with those three today.
I like that.
That's it.
Yeah, and so it is November. We are officially into fall. We've had our daylight
Christmas
saving.
and then Thanksgiving for one day and then Christmas. Yeah,
it's true.
That's what we're into.
So we are going into some warm and fuzzy kind of indie films, I guess is what we're going to do. Yeah. And today we're talking about Garden State.
Woo! Garden State. If you guys aren't familiar with Garden State, think of Silver Lining Playbook, but with mumblecore. That's pretty much what it is. That's what it is.
All right.
The movie is. Where just, oh, hey, I'm a daydreamer. I'm feeling bad about some stuff. Then you find out something they're feeling bad for. They definitely deserve to feel bad for. Like, oh, that's horrible. How are you still alive and not even a thought of, ending it all or whatever. And then I'm just like, it's part of life. Life is just true. This way.
And during this time, in the early aughts, a lot of these indie films came out. This was kind of the feeling. I had just graduated from high school around the time that this came out. And it was one of those movies that really influenced my young adult life. I feel like I love this kind of music. Sub Pop was really big. Belle and Sebastian, The Shins, all of these things were so ridiculously good. Yeah, it's one of the only times that Coldplay was on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's so true.
Don't like Coldplay, but this one was phenomenal. They had a cover of Postal Service song. Ben Gibbard. He's amazing. I absolutely love that man. And next week, I think we'll be talking about 500 Days of Summer.
That's another one with just a crazy soundtrack.
His ex-wife?
Yeah. That's right?
31 Days a Night.
31 what?
No.
What?
500 Days of Summer. I was like,
31 days, 30 days of night. ex-wife, Zooey Deschanel, is in that movie. And she broke his heart. And as much as I love her, I love Ben Gibbard a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that way about it.
But yeah, Postal Service, all that, Death Cab for Cutie, you probably know him. But that music, this kind of movie is super influential. And hey, we don't have a computer today, so I'm going to prop up my phone here. And we already have a super chat from Larry Newbill. Thank you so much. He says, Team Black Tea for Life.
Yes. I'm telling you, we are going to make a show, and it's just going to be a talk show with us.
It'll just be us around.
And then we'll have guests or whatever like that, but we'll just talk about current events, blah blah blah.
It'll be our new After Dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Black tea, and you
we'll
gotta
just call it Black Tea. Yes,
that is our new thing.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Stay tuned.
Illuminati's going to be a beautiful channel. Get ready for it, guys. I'm just saying that right off the bat. I would love Black Tea. We'll have someone make a logo. Toku, get on it. And we'll do some stuff. It's going to be great. But, so, my thing was trying to figure out the themes as far as relationships when it comes to this film. And then also being able to break it down. One thing that I noticed that went heavy was depression, fear, and loss.
And a lot of drugs, too. I feel like during this time, we were kind of growing up in a time where it's kind of weird, but there was kind of an over-prescription antidepressants, things like Xanax, Zoloft, ADHD meds. And I feel like it's kind of this culminating experience for us kind of growing up in this, and might be for some of you.
Well, dude, it's even far more prominent now than it was then, so that's the thing, where it's this is where it started. 2004, around that time, that's where it kind of that's where things were happening, where we started to see where people were like, oh yeah, Zoloft or blah blah, did you bring any Xannies or whatever it was. But now it's at a level where everybody's commonplace. Oh, I got some Xannies, or what? Oh, yeah, take a bar. What? It's in music and everything. It's just chill. So it started somewhere, and this is around the time in which it started.
Yeah, and I feel like it is one of these times, these people are in their young adult lives, too. I feel like they're just getting in kind of maybe their working careers or, just out of college, give or take. So probably early 20s.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Maybe late teens if they didn't go to college.
But one thing I got to say I did like with this film was that it was kind of, hey, it's okay if you're not where everyone else tells you or expects you to be at a particular time in life.
And I like that. And I also like that these main protagonists kind They're not Hollywood standards of beauty.
Oh, no. Oh,
Their meet cute is awkward and weird. And
Wow.
I feel like this is way more realistic to what you're going to experience in real life.
Oh,
You're not
yeah.
going to have that perfect meet cute. You're not going to have that perfect conversation. And I think it's okay. Like, this shows that love can bloom in situations where you wouldn't expect it.
No matter where. I mean, and the thing is, and it's kind of a juxtaposition, thinking from where the film starts off, when we got Zach Braff kind of like sinking into this like
Blending
kind of dream
in, like
and
in the
freak. Yeah.
in the beginning, that white bed, he's wearing the white shirt in a stark white room where he just blends in, and throughout the progression of this and him finding companionship and love is able to break out of that.
Yes.
Especially like the shirt blending into the wallpaper. His mom's friend like makes him a
being
custom
seen.
shirt.
It's literally like
and
you
that's
said
what
in
it
the-
is.
Yeah.
And by other people and by himself to
Yes.
actually be allowed to feel something, because I feel like a lot of times especially men, I don't know if this is going to be a sexist thing, but in our society men are forced to close down. Like in this particular situation, it was a kind of a drug induced emotionless state, but I feel like men in general are forced to kind of push that aside. Like any feelings that you might have, any anger, any sadness, even happiness, is just like you don't put that out there into
It's
the
a
world.
thing where it has to be like, okay, that's what's macho, that's what's manly. You know, you have to do that. There should be no level of emotion. Like, and this is where I can speak personally. When it comes to being like a black male, we're taught to that hyper kind of style of just being masculine, which means that as much as possible, you tend to kind of shy away from emotion. Like I told people before, the whole trope of black men don't smile in pictures. That's why where it's like, people love to make the joke about Kanye, like Kanye doesn't smile. You know, like he's seeing something and because that's how we're kind of taught. And it's a thing where it's like, okay, other people that aren't black see that more and they make the joke, while black people are just kind of like, we don't make that joke because we know, we all do it. So it's like, oh, okay.
It's like a standard of living of like, you can't do this, otherwise you're going to be perceived as weird or awkward. And we see these two people kind of come together in this movie. That they both kind of have. Well, one is more of a emotion issue, and the other I just feel like is more physical. Like we find out that Natalie Portman's character has epilepsy and doesn't want to share that, and is incredibly embarrassed by this thing that she has. And I feel like that is a lot of people out there. It doesn't have to be as severe as that, but we all have something that we like don't want to share out in front of the world.
That's something like I have in my notes talking about like their whole connection and what she means to him. Like the whole thing, I was like, all right, so Zach Braff's character, Largeman, is dealing with a woman, Natalie Portman, in that way, who has almost. And funny enough, I had this conversation with my girlfriend recently. She has what I call a creative's drive, where she's like, everything is in flux, you know? She is literally the embodiment of spontaneity, and it's different, and it kind of scares him. But he knows it, but he likes it, and he needs it, you know? And that was the thing that was interesting to me, because I had the whole conversation recently. I'm going to get real. I had the whole conversation with my girlfriend earlier about that, because her thing is, I told her hustle is success. What she does at any time when she's bored with something after a while, she's like, all right, I need to leave it and do this. I'm bored with this, I need to leave it, I need to do this. I'm bored with this, I need to leave it, I need to do that. And my whole conversation with her was being honest, like as honest as possible, and it freaks me out. And it was just like, I'm afraid that what if you do this when it comes to the relationship? What if you get bored with us? And then it's just, all right, I'm out, you know? And she was like, even if I got bored or in a rut, I wouldn't leave what I love. And I was like, damn. Like, okay, that makes sense, you know? Like, for me, I was like, I really get that. And it was like, okay, so I understand how that works, but there's a moment in the film where it's kind of like she reassures him with the same kind of conversation with her in the tub. It says, like, it was like at the moment when he tells her it hurts so much, and she says, that's life. Nothing else, if nothing else, that's life. It's real. Sometimes it hurts, but it's sort of all we have. And his response was, I feel safe. Like, you know, when I'm with you, I'm safe. You're like home.
Yeah, and he was finding a sense. He never felt a sense of home. So earlier in the movie, he was talking about, you know, like you grow up in this place and you kind of leave it, and then you have nowhere to call home.
Yes.
And not to go back, I was actually listening to a podcast, an NPR podcast earlier this week, and I thought it was interesting. And it was called The Lonely American Man, and it talks about how little boys build these friendships, have a best friend in school, do all these things together. Like, yeah, this is my homie. I love him. You know, and it's not like it's one of those no homo. It might be, but whatever. But you know, like a lot of the boys, like, this is my best friend. We play. Like, I would die for this guy. Like, we're tight. And as you get older, you tend to lose that close network of friends. You feel kind of isolated because men are not supposed to show feelings. And as you get older, these boys start to learn, like, oh, you're supposed to kind of wall yourself off from people. And I thought that was super interesting. And even in this, Zach Braff's character, Andrew Largeman, he does not really have friends. He hasn't reconnected to anyone in high school since he left for LA to become an actor. That's right. Because I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What's up? And when you look at him, even in there's this drug-induced scene where they all take ecstasy, and everyone is having fun around him, and in slow, he's just sitting there and he's just observing. He's not partaking in anything. Nothing. And I feel like whether you're in that specific situation or not, whether you're like on antidepressants or not, that a lot of people tend to feel that way, have that isolation. And a lot of these guys kind of tend to rely on a significant other to make their plans, to build their friendship circle, to introduce them to these things. Yeah. And I thought it was super interesting. And that's kind of like, Largeman has his group of friends. Oh, yeah. But I feel like he doesn't really feel reconnected until he talks to Sam, Natalie Portman's character. And being weird. It's true. And being vulnerable. And,
yes, there it is. That's a word.
Not vulnerable just to her, but that opened him back up to his friends. Like at the fireplace where he finally explains why his mom was a paraplegic. Whoa. And it is dark. Like his father, like everyone seemed to blame him for a freak accident. And he kind of seems to have forgiven himself, but not fully. Really. Not fully. Because his dad doesn't accept it. His mom probably didn't. He never got closure for that. But because of her, was able to open up. And now his life is significantly better. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Because, like, breaking his hair down, he has a state of consistent self-inflicted guilt due to the death of his mother. And it's just a small amount, because by the time we finally get to the point where he does speak to his father about it, but this is after, there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Before you start that, I just want to say that Ryan Cross Z-Dragon says, "You are looking super fly tonight." And that is what producer Shay also says.
He did. He was like, "You're spiffy." So I know, right?
I love it.
It was the haircut. And back. I'm trying to do something.
Trying to impress you guys.
I'm trying to do something for you guys. But no, they have a phrase in which they call her, as far as in a writing tool or device. She's what they call a manic pixie dream girl. Now, it sounds weird. And
I know about these. There's a lot.
Yeah, we kind of sculpted that word out of our repertoire because it doesn't really. It's reductive. It's reductive for women. In fact, because it makes them a tool, but not a flesh and blood character. When everyone else is, it makes a woman a non-flesh and blood character. And the reason it is because it's like she exists solely to teach the broodingly soulful young man to embrace his life and its infinite mysteries and adventures. But that's all she's there for.
In this particular case, I do agree.
Well, no, but that's exactly what she is. And with that, when she kind of opens up to him, he learns to open up. And like I said before, he has a self-inflicted guilt. He's always afraid to hurt someone else's feelings, so he just kind of rolls with everything until there's a moment where they are at that the query, and you can see that she's uncomfortable and it's time to go. And he's like, "What are we doing here, man?" You know, like he stands up, and it was the first time. And
even his friend was like, "Whoa!"
I've never seen.
And he was able to joke around. I like how both of them take kind of these tense moments, and like while he's crying in the bathtub, like Sam's character comes and like collects his tears. Oh yeah, and is able to kind of make, because obviously he's not comfortable with showing emotion, so they're immediately able to recognize it, accept it, and then kind of undercut it with a little bit of humor so he doesn't have to feel awkward. And I feel like it allows him to be more expressive more continuously.
And I love that. This film works in that way where, like you said, when it gets something that subject matter that's too hard to deal with, they make sure that to show that, hey, there's room for levity still. There is a way to look at it and not realize that, okay, I have to fall in this K-hole of depression and pain and all these things. There are ways out. Yeah. And sometimes those ways out are the people that you're with, that if you feel strong enough to be able to share the things with them, you should feel strong enough to lean on them. And they should know that and help as well.
And that is what relationships really should be. Whether she's a one-dimensional character a little bit in this particular movie, we're going to get back to that next week. 500 Days of Summer. Make sure to watch that and tune in. Yeah, like, it's super interesting how this kind of character is able to bring it out of him, but also it's kind of like one of those dangerous things when you're looking at character tropes. Like, you can't just look for the really bizarre, weird person that, like, stands in the room and is like, ah, like, dancing here.
You're like, and being that's my manic pixie. Ha-ha, no. That could also be someone on coke. So you want to watch that. You want to watch out for that. You don't want to just say, yes, I'm ready for it. You have to know exactly what you do need, and there has to be a conversation. But like I said, when he meets her and he has that breakthrough, it's funny enough, the biggest breakthrough that he had, the hurdle that brought him there, with the whole thing about the mother. And okay, was it just me, or did it feel kind of implied that she just committed suicide?
I assume that she committed suicide.
That's what I feel as well, right?
Yeah.
See, and
it was very unspoken, but I feel like it was extremely strongly hinted at.
Yeah, I mean, I understand she's paraplegic, but she's had to take baths before, so this is the one time.
And obviously, this happened when he was 9 years old. And then went to boarding school, did all of this, you know, so... And like you said, it's not that old.
No.
Like, he moves around, can do everything, and obviously she was dealing with depression, because that's leaked out later. Like, she was never happy, she was never responsive, never really did anything except for the one moment that, you know, wiped his nose on her sleeve. Yeah. But other than that, like, she seemed to be dealing with a lot of depression, which is also kind of crazy because the father, the husband, is also the psychiatrist that prescribes everything. God. So I feel like if you wanted to dig deep into these family issues, we could, but we're focusing more on just love relationships. Yeah. You know? But man, that was crazy.
So with that, going into that, now this is the past trauma. And this past trauma comes out in so many different ways, of course, for everyone in the future, in the present, or whatever that may be. Do you think, when it comes to past traumas, that they may also reflect as baggage?
Of course.
When it comes to a relationship?
Of course. I feel like any kind of trauma, any kind of past experience that you had, whether it be positive or negative, will kind of be carried with you into whatever relationship you encounter next.
Ooh.
In this particular case, like, kind of dealing with that guilt, he kind of feels guilty about hanging out with everyone, even when he comes back like, oh, yeah, what's up? I'm just here for my mom's funeral. I don't really want to... invest time or effort, and kind of like, you know, days out of it. So I feel like, and him opening up to his friends, even though these people seem to know him and invite him out and like, hey, it's been so long, I want to hang out with you, has never been even able to open up about what really happened to his mother to any of those people.
That's true.
So I feel like that wall was built at a very early age.
But the thing is, the scary and weird thing about it is that he's the one that built the wall, because when he felt that he was able to really speak to them, they were able to take in the information, and they were just like, yeah, okay. Like, they just rolled with it. It wasn't like, what? That's weird, and wow, oh my God, so you're just a weird person, and blah, blah. You know, like, those things that you're afraid of, none of that happened.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, man.
Because even when he gets to, I forget his name, like, the best friend that ends up getting the necklace at the end, but he's, like, going into this thing, and people are asking about acting life and whatever, and you could sense that, like, yo, this guy's uncomfortable, man, like...
What did he say?
He's like, oh, he's here for a press junket.
Yeah, that's right.
He goes up there like, hey, you like that? You like that? Like, I got your back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you see him like not even being able to be like, oh man, thanks so much. You like saving life. It was just kind of like, I'm so awkward.
It is kind of weird in that way, because you're thinking to yourself like, well, then what the heck, you know? Like, but I do love, and I gotta say, I really appreciate, like, they made sure to give the character a strong base or idea of family, even though the actual family was so small, so limited. It was just a father who really was estranged and was pushing him away the whole time and blaming him at every time.
And even then, so he lived with his father for a few years after his mother's accident, but then was sent to boarding school. and then went to California to pursue his career and had never been back home. So I'm guessing a lot of these friends that he had probably didn't even know him through high school. It was probably a middle school thing, because at 9 you're in elementary school.
Yeah.
11, 12, 13, so he was at home for a few more years before he was sent away. And how big of an impact that's like, yeah, I appreciate you, I remember you, I want to hang out with you, and him being like, I haven't seen you in years.
So, do you have any friends in your life that, like, okay, you hung out with, you knew, and then, like, you know, you've grown up, so you haven't seen them much, but there comes a moment where you do connect or you see them again. Are you able to pick up just like that, or is it still, this is awkward, hard to navigate?
I kind of think it depends on the person and the ways that you split ways. I feel like reconnecting, it depends where you are in your life and where they are in there. And obviously, all past experiences lead you to either connecting or not.
Or not. That's true.
You know, like...
That's true. That's true. There's no way to deny that. That's immediately. That's where it's like, and it's a shared experience. So that usually is something that's going to make you connect. Either it's positive or negative, it's still a shared experience.
Yeah.
So now, here's a different thing, because this is where I noticed it with Sam, Natalie Portman's character, and Andrew, Zach Braff's character. These two were ASL. Oh my God. I'm not dating myself. I'm not.
Yo, chat rooms back in the day. AOL chat rooms. ASL was a big thing. 411 was a big thing.
Oh
you don't even have to put ASL. It just automatically implied.
411. People are like, yeah. You're supposed to do it once you enter the room. Yeah. You're supposed to be like, all right, this is my age, this is my sex, this is my location. Yep. That's it. ASL, people. None of it was ever true. No. None of it was ever true, because you were trying to pick up on someone and you were trying to see what could happen. But then, being young, you never thought about it and said, well, what am I going to do when this person lives in Milwaukee and I live in California? We're never going to meet anyway. So, I don't know. That's always weird. But on this movie, the thing was, Natalie Portman was raised in one particular way, of course. Zach Braff raised in another.
And you could tell their parents immediately extremely different. She has a brother, Tim, who they, I think, adopted from Zimbabwe.
Yeah, something like that.
And even the mom, like, super just friendly, and, you know, they can kind of argue and, like, embarrass, and still at the end, every time she leaves, I love you, gives her a kiss, I love you too.
Hug, here goes the show of emotion, versus Zach Braff's father, who is a stoic wall between us.
We need to talk.
Yes.
We will talk. We should talk.
And he's supposed to be a therapist.
Yeah.
And yet he has no idea how to connect. Right? He has no idea how to connect. And this kind of brings us back to something that usually... our Toku princess usually likes to ask a lot, which is when it comes to relationships, she'd love us to be able to discuss, does family, how you were brought up and everything, does that affect you when it comes to getting into a relationship? And how does it exactly affect?
It can. In this particular case, though, because Sam's mother is so inviting, we don't know where her father is or what kind of life experiences they had as a family, but we can assume that he's not in the picture.
Yeah.
But Zach Braff's character, Andrew, is seeking affection and love that he never got throughout his entire childhood. So when the mom asks him, like, you want a hug too? And Sam's like, no, you're being embarrassing. He was like, I'll take one. And they have a really long embrace.
Yes.
And she kind of taps him out like, there you go,
there you go, buddy. Yeah, like, all right, go ahead. Like, go ahead. But it was him, like, once again, this was all part of his process of opening up and learning more, et cetera, et cetera. But my thing was, these two people that have grown up in ways that are almost like polar opposites, they meet. And the thing is, yes, their backgrounds should be the thing that separates them. But the great thing is, when you date someone, when you're interested, and when you love someone, or whatever it may be, the things that are different should be the things that bring you together, because it's something that they've experienced that you haven't, so you can learn from them, and it's vice versa.
Yeah, you want to respect their traits, you like them for who they are, and hopefully you guys will balance out.
Yeah.
In this case, like Sam, because honestly, in real life, if you got a girl that approached you like Sam approached you, would you be? I would be like, yo, girl, I'm here for like a head case kind of. I just want to fill out my forms, and you're just up here.
She tried to help me with the dog. You know.
I mean, she was laughing at me like, "Yo,
kick him in the balls."
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a bad thing. She was trying to help. After that, there's that weird connection. But the problem is, I would definitely pursue that.
Really? And even then, I thought it was pretty
because of these movies, though. It's because of these movies.
It's because of these movies. I think in real life, though, and these kinds of like lines or pickups only really work if the other person is attracted to you. Because if you are not, if there is like not that mutual interest, it comes off as incredibly creepy. Especially like
about that.
This is a point where you ask me if I need a ride home, and it's like, yo, what, girl?
Yeah, if she was ugly,
I don't know you.
Like, if she was a troll, it would have been like, what? Ah, like, freak out, get away from me. But
even after all that, like, in the beginning of, like, she's obviously a liar, where she's like, oh, I'm just waiting for my friend. It's like, hey, Sam, I'll be with you next. I'd be like, yo, that bitch just lied to me.
Yeah.
What? She's here at a psychiatrist or, like, something, and, is kind of like listening to music, puts it on my head, telling me to kick balls of this dog. I feel like that's animal abuse, and you know, like says retarded a lot. And I mean, back in the day, that word I kind of feel like that was the terms that a lot of people use, kind of like gay, and it didn't necessarily mean like derogatory, but it could.
It's a different time, guys. Different time.
But yeah, in my head, I'd be like, yo, this girl's just like okay, and I don't want to sit in the bitch car. I got my own helmet. I'm gonna ride on the back and be like, impressive.
Okay,
but
all right.
That's what Zach needed.
But
Andrew needed in this
that
case.
weird spontaneity is what actually sparked the interest and said, you know what, she's different from people I know. She's different from me.
Because it seems like you don't know anybody else. Like, his apartment is sparse. He doesn't have any friends. He didn't connect with anyone in school.
Oh, yeah. It just seems like he lived a fake kind of life. But once again, I think he lived a life that was kind of slightly expected of him. Even in his rebellion, he's living the life that they expected.
But see, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Why would he choose acting? Like, he always wanted to be someone he didn't want to. But also at the same time, I'm like, yo, you got no personality of your own. Is this
That's the whole thing. Why not be an actor when you have no personality?
I wonder, but
you get to live your life as so many people every time.
His was like mentally handicapped.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, for that one show.
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh, poor little guy. But honestly, looking at just the breakdown of the relationship, him and Sam and Andrew, one thing that was trippy to me, do you think that everything that happened for them merited him saying that he was in love with her as soon as it was?
I actually do, since he's been disconnected from so many other humans in his entire life, because this happened at 9, so he's been traumatized from basically the time that he's been able to keep memories.
Yep.
I do feel like he does genuinely love her. I don't know if he meets more people and finds out more about himself, if that love will be constant. Because even at the end, he says, like, I mess up. I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to need to work on myself quite a lot. But I know that this is something good. And in 4 days, you have allowed me to open up and find a safe place and have this connection. So I do think that in his head, he genuinely loves her and probably will for the rest of his life for breaking him out of this routine. As far as actual romance and getting married and having kids, I kind of feel like he needs to go through a whole new adolescence and probably will want to explore. And he actually does. Zach Braff in general comes out. There's a second movie, I think it's called The Last Kiss, about and people in their 30s.
Yeah.
And like, I know it's not a direct follow-up to this movie.
No.
But I do feel like in that situation,
very close.
that is what would happen. There will be cheating involved. There will be a lot of miscommunication, a lot of anger. And
he also does another film called Wish You Were Here, which is pretty much this exact film.
Oh, really?
But like,
I haven't seen that one.
Fanciful kind of moments where instead he literally does daydreaming. You see his daydreams, and it's just like trippy. But yeah, it's pretty much the same exact movie, but with all of that happening. It's interesting. It was a Kickstarter project he had.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's just like,
I gotta check that out.
It's like, Zach, just tell people to watch Garden State again, or make Garden State 2. I don't know, just my opinion. What do I know? But this movie was so important, and honestly, it set up for me an idealized kind of view of rom-com love. Like, in a way, because it was just like, oh my God, I would love to have a moment where I meet someone, and then I just end up spending a whole weekend with this person. We went on a one date, and we just end up spending. I strive for that type of connection. You have no idea how I have looked for that type of connection because I feel it's possible. I am a person that if you hang out with me long enough, you're like, yeah, I can hang out for like 3 days with Daniel. I like it'll be like, all right, waking up. I wake up, you're still asleep. I'm gonna go and make breakfast, and after that, blah blah. You're talking, and you're like, well, I was gonna do this, and I was gonna run this errand, and I'm like, cool. I got nothing else to do. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I do like, if you guys are familiar with Entourage, when Vince wasn't working, Vince would do this all the time, where it was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Nothing, going to the dentist? Cool, let's roll to the dentist. I had a story about that with a friend, where my friend Chris, he's a real tall guy, Chris Williams, he ends up playing, oh yeah, huh? Who do we know like that? Who do we know like that? Literally, Joe is like that. Joe is definitely like that.
To Ryan, we're talking about Garden State.
Yeah, we're talking about Garden State. But Joe is definitely like that. Joe, if he doesn't have an assignment or something like that, he'll call people. He calls everyone. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. Other people he knows not to call, he'll text. I'm one of the texters. Hey, what are you doing right now? I'm like, oh, nothing, man, blah, blah. Oh, cool, you don't have an assignment or anything like that? I was like, no, I'm just home. All right, come over, dude. We're just come over. All right, fine. I come over, and he's like, I got nothing else to do, blah, blah, yada, yada. I think I got, like, a dentist appointment. Let's go to my dentist appointment. What? Okay. And then we're just hanging out, we're just going places. Then after that, it's like, yeah, we got to go eat. All right, cool, we're going to go eat. All right, then after that, blah, blah, yada, yada. Like, it just becomes a whole day of doing nothing. Then after that, he's kept you around and hang out long enough that he's like, well, maybe you should spend the night instead of just driving home. All right, cool. Then you wake up, then you'll wake up in the morning, and then you're like, well, I do need breakfast. He's like, yeah, we should go get breakfast. Then the whole day just goes again.
I feel like that's a little bit different than what's happening
well,
here.
Yes,
you do have that in your life.
It just kind of grows and expands. But what I would love is kind of like that, where I meet someone, and we're having a great conversation, and I'm like, hey, so what are you doing after? And they're like, oh, well, nothing. I'm actually today is my off day. Let's go have lunch. All right, cool. Then we go have lunch, and then after
really
that,
cool.
let's go see a movie. Let's go have dinner.
I feel like it does happen every once in a while.
Yeah,
and it's really great. Like, I had that in college, and it's like,
yep,
that really was tumultuous, but it was one of those things where I was like, and you live kind of down, you're like 10 minutes away from me, like, oh, okay, like, let's hang out, let's do this, let's go here, and like, I'm not doing anything, like, our class is done, let's
I'm telling you,
anywhere.
This what this movie
and
did.
It
gave me this unrealistic idea.
Conversation, and I feel like that is always a good sign. Like, obviously, it was kind of awkward. It was a little weird, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you like listen to this and force you from that." But it's like they were both kind of doing it, and I think they both agreed. Where it's like, "Yeah, what are you doing tomorrow? What do you do?" He was only home for like 3 days. He spent all 3 days with Sam.
Yeah. And that's like, I just...
Or he was home for 4 days, spent 3 days because he went to the funeral first. That was day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels like that. Like, it's like it gave me this unrealistic idea that this could happen. And, I can't wait for it. I'm looking for it all the time. So I'm always looking for the quirky person that may be cute and find out what's going on with them. And then just somehow talk to them. And it was like, yeah, this has only happened once in your entire life. Just calm down, Daniel. But still, it gives you hope. Yeah, and that's the great thing.
It may not even be realistic. It's not like your traditional rom-com with like super hot guy, super hot girl, circumstances meet cute. Nope. This one, it still is. It is a little more realistic. But if you are seeking it out, I feel like that's where relationships, not relationships, but looking for a date starts to wear you down. Yeah. So for those of you that are just like looking to date and doing this, like they found it authentically in this particular movie. They weren't looking for relationships. Obviously, Zach Braff didn't even know how to navigate one with his family or friends or a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And her too, where it's like, oh girl, you're a compulsive liar in the real world. Like that gets old real fast.
But see, okay, but this is the thing though. All of her lies were to protect this image that she was giving out, which is herself, and also protect this thing that she's keeping as a secret, which is, I have epilepsy. Because people see you with epilepsy, epilepsy, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now you're different. They see you completely different. Now, okay, let's put you in a bubble. We have to protect you. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
And it seems like that's her situation at work, where it's like, I have to wear this to work. I am the only one in the office that has to wear a helmet to work.
Yeah, and it's like something where if you happen to be epileptic, it's not something you just want to walk around telling everyone all day, because you have to deal with those incessant questions. And sometimes you have to educate people. And hey, you know what? It's not my daily job to educate you on something that affects my life every day. And it kind of makes it where it's like my condition is me, not me, my personality actually being me. So
which makes her quirky, which makes her who she was. so I do feel like she took a little bit of agency in this really kind of crappy situation and is like, I will choose to live life on my terms. I'm going to be weird when I want to. I'll be unique when I need to be instead of being put into a box of this epileptic girl, you know, that...
Yeah, I mean, I feel that was a great thing. Yes, she did it in a bad way, which is lying. I don't condone it, you know, just tell the truth. It makes it easier. But the thing is, having to tell the truth all the time to everyone, every day, exposing yourself, blah, blah. Sometimes it's just like, look, you know what, this is a device I'll have to use, which is a lie, to stop from having to just, this is my whole life to everyone all day. You know, I mean, that's a tough thing. And kind of, once again, dating with a condition, dating with a disease, dating with any kind of situation or problem.
Any kind of baggage. And baggage could be anything. They never have to be as severe as any of these issues are.
No.
It could just be past relationships that you've been burned in. And just being like, hey, I saw a red flag and I don't know if I can trust you. Or if it was just like an innocent mistake and it's something that maybe you're overly sensitive about because of your past experiences. Yeah. And that's where true empathy comes into play, where, hey, if you lived this person's life and had all of their past experiences and they reacted like that, and you can actually feel it. I think that's hard. Sympathy and empathy are two very different things.
That's true. That's very
true. But
to
be truly empathetic, and I feel that with her and him. Like when he's talking about, my mom died, actually, and that's why I'm home. And she starts crying, you know? And she's like, wait, why are you crying? Like, you've never met my mom. You don't know who I am. And she was just like, it's sad. Like,
it is.
And because this special person is no longer in this world. And regardless of if I know her or not, it is a sad thing. Shows her true empathy.
That's true. That is very true. I do like that.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of moment where it's like, maybe the beginning of realization of like, whoa, you have all of these emotions, and he realizes like, I didn't even cry. I wanted to cry at my mom's funeral, but I couldn't.
I didn't.
And here you are, we're just having a conversation, and you feel so much inside of you, and I think that's what he's lacking, and that's why he's attracted to her.
That's the thing. That is something that I kept seeing throughout this film, and it's something that I think a lot of people do pursue without knowing it, but it's good to pursue that thing of, this is what I'm lacking and this person has, because they only help to build you up if it's genuine. And that's a great thing to do in a relationship. That's why this movie was one of the ones that was picked. There are bad examples in this movie, but there are also a lot of excellent examples that count as not red flags, but green flags.
Yeah.
Letting you know, hey, this is the time to go for it, because it makes sense. Everyone has, once again, baggage.
Yes.
Some baggage may not, as you said before, be as large as others. But the thing is, if you're willing to have the conversation, be real, and work to unpack that baggage, you'll find someone that may be amazing if they're willing to work and unpack with you. That's what you should be looking for when it comes to a relationship. Someone that you can talk to and say, help me unpack while I help you unpack.
And I feel like it works in Sam's case too, because, you know, when she's like, hey, do you want to see my room? You want to see my house? And she's like, we're not going to make out. Like, she kind of has that wall around her too, where, like, I'm pretty sure, like, she's never, maybe it's part of that manic pixie dream
girl. Yep.
Okay. So, whatever, that term where it's like, she's not shown with any other friends. She's never shown out with her coworkers. She has a good relationship with her mom and her brother, but actually really does seem like an isolated person as well.
Indeed.
She has a little bit more personality than Andrew's character, but you know, like, you get the sense that she is also incredibly lonely, built up the same kind of walls. Like, I don't just want to be the epilepsy girl, the helmet girl that you need to protect, or like you don't want to trigger for any reason, you know? So I felt like that she's like saw a little bit of herself in him.
It's very true. I think about missed opportunities in the film, but one that I saw when I was looking up so many times, and people kept saying it, and I don't feel it was, and they were like, she didn't have an epileptic scare. And I was like, but why did she need to? But I see that all over reviews. They were like, It's a missed opportunity, because that could have actually bridged the connection to make her even far more vulnerable. And I was like, she was already vulnerable, man. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Like, her whole thing of what she's trying to cover up, and then at every inch, she's removing it. You know, when they got to her house, you know, I don't have a boyfriend. And then after they get inside the house, and then here comes her mother revealing something with the dead thing, hamster. And then after that, here comes something revealing as far as showing her house and how it looks. And then her brother just pops up. It was like not planned, so now she has to explain her brother. And then he gets to see her room and how it looks and how she lives.
And she exposes herself with like the little tickle blanket, where it's something that she had and is like the one true sentimental thing that she has in her life, and is immediately opening up to this guy.
Exactly. And I love it.
In that critique, I feel like this movie, and in general, I feel like, yeah, that might have been good, but this was about Andrew's character growing to open up. This is not about Sam's character. So that's why she does fall into that very one-dimensional kind of like the girl put here to further this person's character development.
But then again, everyone in that way, we're just there to kind of help either push him.
Everyone else was a side character to his development, trying to find out him weaning off drugs, him realizing that being sad is okay, being angry is okay, allowing to be happy despite what he thinks was his fault is okay, and asking for forgiveness. And like, because of all of this and his friends and doing all this, he was able to open up to his father and be like, we're gonna be okay, we don't always have to be happy. Being, and if any of you have seen Inside Out, I think that's a really good movie too, where it's like, it is never about just seeking pure happiness. You can't be happy all the time. You need to let these other emotions come out and play and experience it, to experience life at its fullest. And I feel like that's what this movie is.
I like that.
Like, because Zach Braff, Andrew Largeman, he's not sad throughout this movie. He is indifferent.
Yes.
He is passive.
Numb. He says he's numb.
Yeah. And he feels nothing. And it's about experiencing life. And I feel like that's this whole thing. And he was able to open up through Sam, through his friends, through his father, through everyone else.
And then finally find love after so many years. Because, once again, being able to open up to new experiences, to new people, and taking the time to realize that, you know what, like you said, I don't have to just always be in the pursuit of happiness. Sometimes I can just be happy and entertained with being.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, man, that's true. I love that. And so it's once again a great film to really be able to discuss and kind of see all the relationship kind of themes, because there are so many.
And there are. And I really like one of the big things about Sam's character that I enjoyed is like, she calls him out on his bullshit. Knows that he's hurting. But a certain thing, like when they're at the funeral for the hamster, for Jelly, who had passed away, and he makes a joke and it's like, hey, I heard you had a hard time with the wheel. She's like, that's not funny.
No.
Like,
yeah.
And she was like, that's not funny. Like, this isn't a time for jokes. And it was my fault. And she feels bad. She was like, I forgot to take the wheel out. I was told and I didn't do it. And she feels like shit. Calls him out on his bullshit.
Yeah.
And I love moments like that where it's like, I don't care how vulnerable this dude is. Like, I don't really know him, but he doesn't get to treat me like that.
Also, Elle likes to do that in like a lot of ways at hashtag. She calls everyone out on their bullshit.
I love it.
See, so that's the thing. And it's actually, truth of the matter is, that's a great value. That's a great characteristic. Because the thing is, you don't want to be surrounded by a yes man, and especially when it comes to relationships. Let me ask you, actually, when you're in a relationship, you're not a yes man. You're still exactly the same Elle. So does that work well in a relationship for you, or do you find that there are guys that are just like, man, hey, I need you as a cheerleader a lot, or
sometimes there are certain things, and like kind of learning about empathy. I was not born knowing how to be empathetic. It is something that I've needed to learn to see, like, when these situations arise. Because most of the time, like, you come up to me with a problem or you do something that's wrong, I'll be like, no. I don't think that's what you should do. But there are certain times where it's like, hey, I just need to vent. I had a really bad day. I'm not looking for help or suggestions or anything. I just really need to just put it out there, and I want you to be an active listener. And it is one of those things where, like, if I date someone, they need to be like that because it doesn't come naturally to me. But I would never take offense. I'd be like, oh, well, you're a wimp, or you shouldn't be sharing. It's like, oh, I didn't know. And it's one of those things that, like, through like just friendships, relationships, like, familiar things, like with my family, it's just like, oh, yeah, okay. Don't always be a problem solver. Don't always be like, the outspoken, in your face kind of.
No, I get it.
See, I don't always want to be the red flag. Sometimes I want to be the shoulder to cry on. And it's something that I've had to learn.
See, that's interesting, because for me, it's like, sometimes I feel I may try too hard to be that shoulder to cry on all the time. Let me help you. Yeah. Let me work with you to fix it. But then they say that's a male trait. With the whole thing of, oh, what's the problem? All right, got my tool belts on. What's happening to you?
A problem solver.
Yeah, you're
men are typically designed the problem solver, and the women are designed to be more like the talkative, empathetic, shoulder to cry on.
But the thing is, it's like now you're starting to learn, and the way people are starting to change. Sometimes those roles are reversed. Yeah. And the thing is, women, there's always a trope where a girl comes home, wife comes home from the office, and the first thing she's like, oh, God, so Irene today, blah, blah, she don't know how to work the copier already, that's the first thing.
Have and you then blah, blah,
to
like, Irene, though?
Yeah,
it's just like,
a man
they don't want that.
A man just listening after a while, and he's like, oh, yeah, you should talk to her about blah, blah, blah. She's like, let me finish my story. Okay, all right, go ahead. Yep. And then you keep interrupting as a man, trying to give a fix, to give a fix. It's like, I just wanted to vent. Just shut up and listen. And then we'll move on and talk about something else.
There's a good balance of this in here, especially for Sam's character, to be able to call him out and be like, hey, that's not cool. Or even going to the friends thing where he's like, hey, my friend has this mansion, but I kind of want to leave. And she's like, so you just met me and you want to use me as an excuse to do this? And he's like, no. And so she calls him out. But at the same time, when he's opening up about his mother, or even at the end of the movie, where she's just like, I get that you want to do this, but this is good, and is really vulnerable, is just crying in front of him, is not calling him out, really, and it's just allowing him to do what he wants, and it's just there.
True. But also with
vulnerable and all these emotions bottled up.
I think one cool thing about it was instinctively they grew a connection and had their own kind of way to communicate with each other. Like, I love the ear pulling thing and how it became a thing that was a through line. She did it the first time. He said, okay, at any time we're gonna do it. And then
the hardware store where the weird guy comes up, she's like,
yeah, it was like, and I love that because it wasn't.
And she bumped into. She was just like, I'm kind of just like, hey.
Yes, and it was like, okay, it was established to be used at one place, but now it's become their thing.
Yeah,
and it was like, that's great. I love that kind of thing, and it's like that's one of the kind of marks or trailblazing kind of marks or landscape kind of thing that helps you remember and realize, oh, you two will work out well.
Yeah,
you're
and
building
this is
these things.
A positive relationship, and
exactly.
I really like this example of a movie. I think it's pretty good. We don't know where they're going to go from here, but they're off to a great start, especially when he wants to leave and realizes maybe this isn't best for me. I've been trying to do everything on my own, and it hasn't been working out that well. And in 4 days, you open me up, and I've made more progress in my life than I have in the last decade. So, I'm going to stay. Yeah. And I think that's super hopeful.
Definitely. I mean, with that, it's pretty much like we've broken it down.
Yeah.
We've gone over what we think is good concerning the relationships, what relationship aspects were poor, which usually didn't come from the relationship, but the outside extraneous relationships with, like, the father or some situation with a friend or anything else. But those two, once again, great example of relationships. Yeah. And once again, as we said, our theme for being seen. They took the time to learn each other and then reveal themselves to be seen.
Yes.
And that was beautiful. No other word for it. It's beautiful.
It's true. And it comes from being vulnerable, and it comes from opening up, and it comes from allowing that baggage to be shown. Like, yeah, you're holding it, but when you communicate it with someone else and they accept that, you can carry that baggage together. Lightens the load. Yeah.
Honesty. And not only being honest with those people, but being honest with themselves to say, this is my baggage.
Yes.
So now when you call it out and say, this is baggage, you're like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things. Not only being honest with your significant other, but being honest with yourself first. So this way you can bring out and address these things.
And when you're in an empathetic relationship and being like, I understand that you're reacting this way because of the past experiences that you've had, but let us try to move on from that and build something more positive, and if we can build it together, even better. And I feel like that is the track that they're on.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I mean, with that, like I said, I think we've hit the nail on the head. We've addressed all the points that I think everyone needs to know or see. If you guys haven't seen Garden State, try to check it out. It's a really good movie. Yes, it is. It does happen in Jersey. Sorry, but still, nonetheless, It's a good movie.
They make Jersey look good. Like
they did. No, well, that is a nice
they
place
go
to
at
Jersey.
the end, like the whole thing with the ship, and like it gets like kind of crazy romantic.
But
end.
Still, it's great. Like that's how Jersey looks. But really, I think it feels like it was shot in Staten Island because there was a part where he was riding on the bike, and I was like, I know that house.
And actually,
I know that house.
The restaurant,
I think that's Sunnyside.
The restaurant in the very beginning, I went there, and it was actually in New York.
Yeah. See, so I was like, So I was like, wait a minute, he's supposed to be in California, but that's.
Yeah.
So they were shooting everywhere. But, I did love the movie. You guys should check it out. I don't know exactly as to where it's on right now, but check out the movie.
I'm sure
it's really
you can
good.
find it probably on Amazon for super cheap and be able to watch it. But
YouTube
next
had it
week,
for $3.
Yeah. Next week, if you get a chance, please watch 500 Days of Summer. We're going to be talking about that. The relationships. It's not going to be as successful as the one we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And we've brought it up a lot on the show. So we thought
have.
we would do a deep dive into the relationship pros and cons. Of our friends there. So if you want to tune in next week at 9 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right. We'll be covering Quest 2 covering 500 Days of Summer. Yeah. And also, guys, just something to remind you, because we always want to make sure that you guys are clothed, because you can't walk around naked. Because unfortunately, at cons,
if you want to look as good as the BSG looks
that's
today.
Right. If you guys want compliments, I'm thinking you gotta put on the clothes that will bring out the compliments, and that's why I suggest you guys head over to TeePublic and check out the hashtag show store, because we have shirts that will elicit a conversation. People love mashups. They'll see it and they're like, "Hey, is that Pineapple the Clown?" But like it's. Oh, that's genius. Oh, is that Finster, but with the saw thing?
Yep.
Oh, I get that. And you're like, yeah, man, I got it from, that hashtag show, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what's that? Maybe you guys promote us a little bit. It doesn't matter. But still, nonetheless, you can still go ahead and talk about your taste and how smart you are by picking up that shirt. So it's something that really works, and it can be used as an icebreaker. So definitely head on over. Check out the shirts that we have, because you will love them. There's so many types. The Pokemon stuff, unfortunately, is gone. So Nintendo hit us up, so it means we're doing something right. Nintendo's hit us up and told us no more.
On that
exactly.
One. But all those other designs and more are available on TeePublic. And if you like these movies and other movies, make sure to check out that hashtagshow.com. There's tons of reviews, tons
articles,
of
interviews. There's so much galore right there on that hashtag show. And last bit of housekeeping, I just want to make sure people do know, because it's one of the only things I am excited about, which is Cosmic Protectors. Now, Cosmic Protectors is a great audio drama motion comic that we here at the Illuminati are putting together. Yes, we are putting together for the fans. So it's something for the fans, by the fans, to give to the fans. And we'd love to be able to make sure that you guys keep up to date with everything that's happening with it. And you can do that by heading on over to Patreon, where you'll be able to see line art. You'll be able to see some clips of cast doing their recordings.
Yep.
You'll even get
and
to
all
see
the updates. We will, to any Silver Ranger patrons that we have, we are going to put up our rewards today. We're so sorry for being about a week late. We are going to remedy that actually this month and release everything a little bit early so we don't run into this problem anymore. So we apologize. But
I love it.
Yeah, so that's www.patreon.com/cosmicprotectors. Make sure to check that out. And until next week,
make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep up to date with everything trending
in geek pop culture.
Bye,
guys.